After Purdue's win over UCLA, Matt Painter went viral with a question asked from a friend of our show, Joe Jackson. You've seen him on the Boilers in the Stands show. You see him on the Feed the Post Substack that he runs. And then he's also appeared on some Sleepers videos this year doing previews and recaps for us. We're a huge fan of Joe. Everybody on Earth should be a huge fan of Joe. And it's good to see him sort of have this moment where he asked an awesome question and Painter gave an awesome answer and the whole basketball world noticed. So Joe's going places, we know that. But I want to talk about this Painter answer for just a minute. I'm going to pull up the clip that Purdue tweeted because he really gave like a 5 minute answer here if you watch the
Yeah.
full press conference. But Purdue tweeted like 2.5 minutes of paint. And I won't play the full thing. I'm just going to play the beginning of it. But this is what Purdue tweeted out from Matt Painter's answer on the X's and O's of how Purdue approached the UCLA game.
So we played out of, we have a name for it, but it's not important. When they went to like their chin action where they cut through, which they don't do a lot of, when they did that, we just tried to hold that guy there. So when he came off the ball screen, we just dropped and then we switched it up top. So when they went into their flat ball screen up top, we wanted to weak it and send it to their weak hand. And then when they were going to go Spain, you speaking my language? Okay. And when they wanted to go Spain, right there, we just brought our guy up and switched it up top, and then we dropped our five.
So I'm going to stop it there because there's 2.5 more minutes of this of him doing exactly what he just did in that clip. But I wanted to at least get through you speaking my language, and then you hear Joe in the background go, yeah. And Joe is, speaking Painter's language, Joe is a basketball genius as well. But some insight into how Matt Painter's brain operates, Cart. He's one of the smartest coaches on earth, and he gave a peek behind the curtain thanks to a great question from Joe on what went well for them defensively against UCLA. This went super viral. The basketball world loved this clip. What was your reaction?
I mean, obviously, it's my initial reaction was it's a very Painter answer because Paint is such an advanced basketball mind. And also I think this was a very what's the word I want to use here? I think it was a very strategic answer and how Paint put it out there because I think that for Paint, or I think he hears a lot of like the chatter like around the program about people that think they know things, people that think they know better, people that think they know what's best for this team. I feel like this was his way of being like, y'all don't know, like this is what goes into it. Um, and he probably expected a response to that to be like, yeah, you're right, you do know more about this than me. Let me relax. But I don't know. That's kind of how I took it because nothing he said, like even though it might confuse people, it's just he's just explaining like every other basketball coach or most minds, I think, try to see the game that way. Paint probably does it better than most, but it wasn't like he was coming up with something that's never been tried, done, or said before.
Interesting. I want to pick at that a little more before we end this. But so you think it was a little bit of a send a message answer from Painter to I think he's called them idiots on social media before in
Yeah,
the
I
past.
think
Yeah.
there was a little bit on like shut the hell up. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot more that goes into this than you think. Yeah.
Which has worked with me mostly. I'm ready to shut the hell up.
I'm
This is
sad.
it's a great example of how much like what does it take? What does it take to actually do this profession? And yeah, I think I want to nitpick a little bit of your belief that like, oh, most coaches probably know this. I don't know. Maybe they do. I bet a lot do, but maybe I don't think anyone would be willing to share it in that way that Painter
Yeah,
did.
no, and I
Um,
didn't mean it as like most coaches know this in that regard. I just meant more so like Payne is one of the best, and he's so detail oriented, and that's what makes him great. I will say I mainly am saying like there's other coaches that see this game in this detail type of way, like this. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. So here's why I love this from Matt Painter and why I appreciate Matt Painter in general. I think he's one of the only coaches, if not the only coach in the country, that would be willing to get this detailed in a press conference. Now
Hmm.
we've even seen Matt Painter approach press conferences almost like certain things he's annoyed with discussing, right? But he always gives people in the room the time of day. He always is very respectful. That speaks to the man that he is. But I don't know. It just like I don't think point blank. I don't think any other coach in the country would have given a 5 minute answer to a question about ball screen defense, right? Or
Yeah.
and I didn't. I don't know if Joe actually directly asked about the ball screens or what, but like. Simply put, a question about defensive coverages, you're not getting 5 minutes of X's and O's terminology discussion from anybody in the country other than Matt Painter. He loves this game and he's so smart about it and he's so willing to share the way he approaches things. It's refreshing because even if other coaches do think the same way or have the same schemes or understand the X's and O's behind it, there's nobody else who's willing to talk about it in that way and make it feel like it's important and valued in that press conference. So I don't think this was all that minor of a moment. I think this was a very cool moment for the sport of college basketball and the people watching it. Um, Now, I was going to ask you, you played high level basketball. You played college, not Division One, but you played, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I didn't. I'll be honest, watching this, many of the terms were foreign to me.
Hmm.
Not all of them. Like I'm familiar with like Spain action, and I knew what he was talking about when he said the chin action. But like, how many of these terms Painter used were somewhat foreign to you? Any?
There was definitely some foreign terms in there for sure. And I mean, Paint, I think has brought it up before. You need to be able to have a certain level, I think, basketball IQ to play for Purdue. I think it's what makes them good, what makes them great. But I mean, there was definitely some things in there that I was like, huh?
Yeah,
Like what? But I consider myself a high IQ player, so I did, obviously there were some terms in there and some things he mentioned that, made sense to me as far as, how they decide to switch certain screens and things like that. And, depending on who's coming off the roll, who's setting the screen, there's different things, whether you switch up top or you don't switch up top or play a certain coverage. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It at its core, it was a kind of a cool moment to hear kind of how that thought process goes because there are, I think, a group of people out there, and not even talking about like us, that don't understand some of the nuances that go into simple things as ball coverage and things like that. There's a lot of scouting report type things that go into these game plans.
yeah. There are. I mean, lost in this too is the fact that I thought Purdue had UCLA in hell defensively down the stretch of this game.
Yeah,
So
I was about to say the thing that made this cool is that shit worked to perfection.
yeah, for sure. Also, it's just kind of funny to comparatively like do this with how other coaches would speak in the post game about this, right? There's no one way to build a winning team, but like we would never get an answer like this from Dan Hurley. We would just get like ref jokes and like like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
great.
yeah, I bet you like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
or Underwood. Like Underwood would just come up with like a term like booty ball and just be talk about effort, you know?
And if they'd ask this, I'd be like, I mean, why would you want to know that? My team sucks.
Yeah, right. We're not even good. I don't know, but UCLA is really good.
Go go ask Greg Gard about his action.
It's so funny to me. And last point for me on this, this is why I think I finally understand why Purdue is playing all the Friday games.
Say that again?
Well, they played like a bazillion Friday games and it's felt weird.
Yeah.
And we've kind of wondered like why? Like oh the Big Ten must like putting Purdue on Fridays. And like what does Purdue get out of it? All this, some standalone spots. If this happened on a Saturday afternoon at 6 p.m., respectfully, this does not go viral. This was the only game on a Friday night, and it became the talk of the college basketball world because Paint gave a really compelling answer.
There definitely is a little
Am I
bit.
crazy on that? Like it's a really cool moment. Joe did a great job. And the thing I liked most about this from Joe, by the way, the Feed the Post Substack post that he came up with after explaining it is like the best. It's like 15 minutes long and Joe cuts up film to go with what Painter was saying. So go subscribe to Joe. Joe's the best. Watch him on Boilers in the Stands. That guy rocks and this was awesome work. But I just like waking up Saturday morning and seeing that like this was the story in college hoops was like Oh yeah, this is why Purdue gets to play Fridays, and it's a good thing for Purdue basketball because we're paying attention to Matt Painter's genius in a way we just wouldn't on a Saturday slate.
Facts. Yeah, facts.